Dylan, the Unfound Anamnesis, another video. Stay to the end of this video because you're either going to say, huh, that's interesting, or you're going to fucking probably hate me. I went to a concert this weekend with my little sister, had a great time. Camp. I don't know if this is reverse. Camp. They played in Columbus. And I remember being at the concert and I'm dancing with my little sister, we're having a great time. And I just started laughing because it reminded me of this question that I got from someone about the Unfound Anamnesis and about Bastunia. They said, I go to concerts often. And I was telling somebody and they said, hey, what path do you think would go to concerts? I've also had the question, what path would be the teachers? Which I found interesting. And it also led me to other questions that I've got kind of reflecting. I remember when I first told people I was working on a comic, the question that I got was, well, are you basing any characters off of me? And recently being able to put out content, and I'm only going to say his name because I look up to him for his humility at times, being able to laugh at himself as well. I talked about James, this hero, this charismatic leader of this society who kind of fell from grace and has this daughter that hates him, and is trying to kind of reconnect with his daughter, and he lost his wife left him and all that, but he's this leader that needs to almost rise from the ashes. My dad called me last week and he's like, hey man, I don't know if this sounds conceited. He already goes into it, right? He's like, first off, his name's James. That's my middle name. And then I kind of hear that he's kind of like this charismatic guy. And I used to coach hockey. He is a very charismatic guy, my dad. He's like, then he's got this daughter. He's like, did you base something off of me? And I laughed and I taught him. I don't want to say taught him, but I talked to him about this concept that I have of the difference between allegory, and I'm going to use allegory in a moral allegory fashion. Now, the definition of allegory is, a hidden meaning in a picture, phrase, or song or story, right? Now, a lot of people look at allegory as like political allegory, and movies that come out have this like political undertone. I'll be the first person to tell you, I am apolitical. You're not going to hear a lot of political discussion from me ever. Matt stays out of it as well. The other type of allegory that we hear is like very strict religious allegory. Matt and I both come from a religious background. Matt is very passionate about his religion, and that will come through in some of the morals that we teach. But I'm going to bring a lot of mythology lessons into Bastunia as well. So we're really never going to take a hard political or religious allegory into this. So I look at allegory as this underlying meaning or moral lesson. You could look at it as symbolism as well if you want. There's a difference between allegory and what we call identity. I'd love to do a TEDx talk about this one day. When Matt and I first came up with the 3 paths, we were actually in a hot tub together at a company offsite. And we were talking about like different phases of life we feel like we either went through or are excited to go through. And we're like, man, we both come from a background of sales and business. And it's like, I did door-to-door sales, Matt did door-to-door sales. We've worked with small startups and the people that are starting them up. And it's this hard drive of, I can be the best, I can be the best, I can be the best. And it's like you're accumulating wealth and you're putting yourself out there and you're being resourceful. And it's this builder mindset, right? Is what we were saying. It's like, man, it's this hard drive, this hard competition. There's pros and cons about it. We've been through that in our life. Matt and I both also like to seek understanding from the cosmos, whether through reading, whether through experiences in life, trips that we'll take, adventures, right? And we're like, man, I lived overseas in Africa for about 3 years with my wife. You learn a lot over there. And it was this time of like exploration, right? And both Matt and I were brought up in small towns, which I love my small town, of like, hey, these are the routines that we do. And we go to the bars together and we kind of do like kind of habits every week. We'll go sing karaoke together. We have a hockey tournament and it's practice, and this don't really have to rock the boat. What we have is awesome. And it's like, this defender mindset, this protection, this preservation. Now coming back to my hometown and getting ready to start a family, it's like, I see how that can be so loving and just. So in our minds, we're like, we went through every path. And what we did with you guys is we even told you there's 3 questions. What path do you think you're walking right now? What path do you think you were born into? If you could do it all over, what path would you choose? And a lot of you had 3 different answers. And you took this quiz, and we started to hear from some of the following of like, hey, I'm a defender, and builders for the win, team builder, explorers all the way. We're so quick to identify and place and put our identity around something that it takes us sometimes away from this allegory or the lessons we can learn. Harry Potter, great series. My wife loves it. Harry Potter himself has this allegory or this symbolism of this boy who is set up for greatness, set up to be the chosen one, and has almost a resistance to step into his power. There's a lot of allegory. There's a lot of moral lessons you could glean from his character arc. And we live now in a time where people take quizzes to say, what Harry Potter character are you? And they get Harry Potter. And they say, I'm Harry Potter. Who's my Dumbledore? Who's my wise sage that's teaching me this? Who's the Hagrid that found me? Rest in peace, by the way. Who's my Snape? Was my dad a bad guy? Because we learned Harry's dad was a bad guy. Spoiler alert. We throw our identity on a fictional character. And what it does is it blinds us for the allegory we can learn, not only from him, but for those around him, the supporting characters, right? So it's the philosophy that goes behind Bastunia, as well as you will have an affinity. You will have a natural tendency to love one of these paths over another. That's totally okay. But don't blind yourself about what you can learn from these other paths as you go on and read in Bastunia. Really seek to say, what is the lesson that I can learn from a builder? Even if I took the quiz and I'm a defender, what are the lessons I can learn from these explorers? Maybe there's things that you want to be aware of for the defender as well. But what we really urge you to do as you move forward is seek the allegory, seek to understand those moral lessons that we're trying to teach, and really try to resist that temptation of throwing our identity on these characters. So to answer your question, all of these paths would go to a concert. Now they might be different people at the concert. Defenders are going to have arms around their friends, and they're going to be singing all the lyrics that they learned ahead of time together. Builders are going to be looking at the spectacle. They might be standing still, looking at the spectacle of the performance and everything that they created. And the explorers are going to be those weirdo dancers that are lost in the moment. And I tell you that from experience. I have an affinity towards the explorers, but when I look around, instead of this like judgment or anything, I just think, I think, wow, everyone here is walking different paths at this time, and it's so awesome. All of them would go. I wrote the other ones down. Who are the teachers? All of them, for different reasons. Am I basing characters off of you? No, you're not that important. I might learn a cool lesson from you that goes in here and helps shape one of the characters. And is my dad James? No, but I do, obviously. Writers write what they know, and I know my dad's charismatic, and it'll be very fun to see if I can glean lessons that I learned from my dad to put them into James. But him and my little sister have a great relationship, and he shouldn't place that identity on it. Dad, I love you. Anyone watching this, I love you. Hopefully this was a cool lesson to learn, or you hate me. And that is what I promised you at the beginning of this call. Drop any learnings below. Tell me you hate me below. I don't care. Like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. More content to come. I love you.